Good evening and welcome to the Cabarrus County Board of Education's December the 13th business meeting. We would like to say thank you to the viewing audience for joining us live stream, and we will get you up to speed that the meeting has been called to order. We were in closed session and the board has reconvened in open session, and I would ask that all are here please join us for our presentation of colors with our opening ceremonies beginning with 4.01. Please stand.
Presenting tonight's colors are members of the Mount Pleasant High School Air Force JROTC program, and their personnel includes Cadet Captain Ryan Stansel, Cadet Master Sergeant Jairo Mejia Lopez, Cadet Staff Sergeant Carter Bonds, and Cadet Senior Airman Nate Deaton. Honoring America tonight with the playing of our national anthem were 7 members of the Mount Pleasant High School Band, and their personnel includes Angel Fisher, Josie Stroud, Ethan Carter, Sydney Warren, Taylor McClendon, Jason Parra, and Nathaniel Perez Gomez. The director of the Mount Pleasant High School Band program is Miss Avery Gray. Thank you.
Thank you to Mount Pleasant High School. We will give them just a minute to exit. Okay, board members, now we will begin with items under number 5.01 being the election of the board chair and the reorganization of the Board of Education officers, and I will turn this part over to Dr. Kopicki.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimsley. At this time, I open the nominations for Cabarrus County School Board's chair.
I would like to make a motion. Whoop. Who's going first?
Mr. Furr.
Okay. I'd like to nominate Holly Grimsley for the chair.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Nomination for Ms. Grimsley by Mr. Furr, second by Ms. Blackwell.
I would like to nominate Rob Walters for chair.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a nomination for Mr. Walters by Mrs. Carpenter, second by Ms. Sandridge. Are there any other nominations for Cabarrus County School Board's chair?
I would vote we close nominations. I would vote we close nominations.
I'll second that.
Okay. If there are no other nominations, I will declare the nomination for the school board chair closed. I will now call for votes on the nominees. As Ms. Grimsley was nominated first, we will vote on her first. If you vote for Ms. Grimsley to be the school board chair, please raise your hand. Since Ms. Grimsley received the majority of votes and is therefore elected as the Cabarrus County School Board's chair. Congratulations, Ms. Grimsley.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, and now I will take items number 5.02, and I will accept nominations for the Board of Education's vice chair.
Yeah, I got a nomination. I would like to nominate Laura Blackwell for vice chair.
Second.
Okay, I have a nomination by Mr. Furr for Laura Blackwell to be our Board of Education vice chair, and it was seconded by Mr. Walter. Are there any other nominations placed on the floor? Hearing none, I will close the nominations and ask that all in favor raise your hand. Thank you and congratulations, Ms. Blackwell. And with that, for the viewing audience and those that are here, we are going to take just a moment of recess and do our reorganization to change seats, and we will be right back. Thank you for joining us again. We have now reconvened after our reorganization for our December the 13th business meeting, and we will congratulate Ms. Laura Blackwell on Vice Chair, and I look forward to working with you as well as the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will move on to items under 8.01, which is setting of the agenda. I would ask for a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda, moving policy 4150 from the consent agenda to the action agenda.
Hearing a motion.
Second that.
Okay. I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Ms. Carpenter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we will actually move item under consent agenda of policy 4150 to the action agenda and making it 15.03. And that was approved unanimously. And now we will move to our items under number 9, which is our recognition. Starting with 9.01, we will begin with our Impact Through Education Awards, and we will have Mrs. Ryan Boone to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening. We're going to change the order a little bit, and we're going to start with our middle school recognitions for Impact Through Education Awards. Okay, so we need to get them from the holding room. But while we're waiting for them, I just want to say that tonight we will be recognizing students and staff for Impact Through Education Awards from W.R. Odell Primary and from Hickory Ridge Middle School. The Impact Awards are sponsored by our friends at Equitable. And if Mr. Benjamin Sloan and Mr. Adrian Caspar are in the room, if they could come forward, please, so they can stand with our students and staff.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And gentlemen, we just want to say thank you for continuing to sponsor these awards and this recognition for our students and staff. It's a great way to celebrate the good things that are going on in our schools and the good people that are in our schools. And so we just want to let you know how much we appreciate your sponsorship of these awards. So thank you for that. And I'm still trying to fill some time till the folks get here. Well, here's the principal.
I think they have arrived.
Is this our first honoree from Hickory Ridge Middle? I thought I saw Dr. Taylor in the back of the room. I know I saw Dr. Taylor in the back of the room. There he is. We want you to come and stand with your student, please. Okay. So our first honoree for Impact Through Education Awards at Hickory Ridge Middle School is Jacob Fowler. Jacob is an 8th grade student at Hickory Ridge Middle and a peer helper in classrooms. Without being asked, Jacob attends to students' needs with kindness, patience, and care. Jacob is also a high-achieving student. He helps his peers and teachers and takes the initiative to assist those in need without being asked or told to. Jacob cares about the school. He's even been seen helping to sweep and wipe down tables just because he wants to. He impacts students and teachers' lives daily for the better. Jacob is an excellent example of a Hickory Ridge Middle School maverick. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job.
Okay, and he just wants to get one more photo of you. Okay, thank you. Our next honoree from Hickory Ridge Middle is Layla Parker. Come on in and stand next to Dr. Taylor. Layla is an amazing young lady who is also an 8th grade student at Hickory Ridge Middle School. She has a warm, endearing personality and treats everyone with respect and kindness. Layla is a shining example of one of the most positive students a teacher can have the privilege of teaching. Her academic work is exemplary, and she always puts forth her very best effort. Layla's impact on those around her is palpable, and school leaders have no doubt she will continue to make a positive difference in the world. Her smile is infectious, even under a mask, and she lights up every room she is in. Layla is a model student and a true maverick. Congratulations on receiving this Impact Through Education Award.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations, Mom and Dad. Yes. Thank you for being here.
We just need to get one more picture of you, Layla. Thank you so much. Our next Hickory Ridge honoree is Michelle Sims. Is Ms. Sims here?
She is.
Oh, okay. He could come in too. Michelle is the type of person and professional who gives it her all. She gives more of herself than what is humanly possible while being a caring and dedicated mother and wife. When given a responsibility or task, she prepares extensively, then works diligently until the task is completed. Her impact goes beyond her role as the MTSS coordinator, as she is always willing to help and take the initiative. When she sees the need, Michelle carefully considers how to provide resources and support to help others with their own professional responsibilities. She is always willing to help, always embracing opportunities to support, and always willing to listen to others. She is a top-notch teacher, leader, mentor, and friend. It simply does not get much better than Michelle Sims. Congratulations on this Impact Through Education Award.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you do.
Gotcha.
And our final honoree from Hickory Ridge Middle is Angel DePaul. Here's Mr. DePaul. In the short time he has been a member of the Maverick family, Angel's impact has been profound. He has quickly become a vital part of the school's daily world in support of all things technology on campus. He works with teachers, staff, and students to expand their knowledge of technology and to ensure that instruction is not interrupted due to technical issues. His response time to technology work orders is near superhuman level, and he always responds with a helpful, kind demeanor. Angel goes out of his way to build positive relationships with everyone. Hickory Ridge Middle School is extremely fortunate to have such a caring and dedicated person working to make everything in Maverick Nation run as smoothly as possible. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Tim. Now we'll move on to Odell Primary. And we have Dr. Health and Catherine Berry is the first honoree. This is Catherine. Catherine Kate Berry is a great role model at Odell Primary. She's very respectful to her classmates and supports other students by helping them through explanation, examples, or just listening. She's always giving others compliments. For example, when a student shares their writing, she will often comment with statements such as, "Wow, that was your best story yet," or "I really like how you wrote your story." Kate is a hard worker and always gives her best effort. She's not afraid to ask questions. She's an excellent student helper and conscientious citizen of her classroom. Each afternoon, she checks the floors for pencils and papers and enjoys organizing the classroom bookshelf. Odell Primary is lucky to have a student like Kate who demonstrates such kindness and caring every day. Congratulations on your Impact Through Education Award.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good job. Thank you for being here tonight.
One more picture. Turn it around. There you go. Here we go. I got you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Our next honoree is Jordan Davis. Come and stand next to Dr. Helms. So handsome. Jordan is an outstanding student who befriends everyone he encounters. He leads by example and always reaches out to help those in need. Jordan makes his peers feel valued and appreciated. His positive attitude is contagious and makes his classroom environment welcoming for all. He is responsible, hardworking, and always willing to go the extra mile when asked. Jordan has a love of writing and enjoys researching a variety of topics. He is curious and creative with excellent critical thinking skills. Jordan comes into class each morning ready to start his day strong. He's been known to encourage his classmates to do a few push-ups together with him to get their bodies ready for the day. At recess, you will find Jordan playing basketball, running laps, or digging for rocks. Simply put, Jordan exemplifies the definition of an exceptional student. Congratulations on your Impact Through Education Award.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job.
Gotcha.
Congratulations. Our next honoree is Miss Brandi Fowler. Brandi Fowler considers herself blessed to have worked with exceptional children for the past 25 years. Teaching a self-contained classroom allows her to provide the individual support students need while helping others understand the importance and value of inclusion. She builds collaborative relationships with her families and is quick to help colleagues with strategies and support. Some of Mrs. Fowler's favorite moments in teaching are when regular education peers greet her students by name and ask them to join their classroom activity. She uses her skills to help students in the classroom and throughout the building. She is a creative educator who thinks outside the box and meets students where they are to help them achieve their goals. Mrs. Fowler believes that being an exceptional children teacher to young students allows her to provide them with the foundation they need not only to be successful in their school years, but also into their adult lives. Congratulations, Mrs. Fowler, on this Impact Through Education Award.
Thank you for all you do. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
One more picture. Right here. Gotcha.
And our final honoree this evening is Ms. Michaela Dooley. Michaela Dooley demonstrates a passion for children and for providing them with a loving environment. She strives to support the individual academic and social emotional needs of all students. She is currently continuing her education at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and seeks out opportunities to grow as an educator by observing the amazing teachers at Odell Primary. She believes that one teacher can influence the lives of thousands, and the thought of being able to help even one student is her daily motivation. Ms. Dooley is observant, attentive, and empathetic, not only to students, but also to her coworkers. She works diligently to support all teachers and assistants and lives by this quote from Helen Keller: "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." Congratulations, Ms. Dooley, on this Impact Through Education Award.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
One more picture with the class.
Thank you, Mrs. Boone. And now we will move to items under 9.02, which is the Hilbush Ford Teacher of the Month, and we will have Dr. Marion Bish, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Communications, to the podium.
Thank you. So good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Kopicki. Good evening to everyone watching on live stream. Wait just a minute. We are waiting on our Hilbush Ford Teacher of the Month for December. And we always, as we do each month, we want to thank very much Mr. Tim Vaughn and Hilbush Ford for their generosity and their sponsorship. We offer gratitude and thanks that they recognize the work of teachers each month. So our Hilbush Ford Teacher of the Month for December is Kendall Tompkins. At this time, Ms. Tompkins, her family, any members of the school's team, thank you for being here with us tonight. Ms. Tompkins is a 5th grade teacher at Pitt School Road Elementary School, and she was nominated for this award by parents who wrote this about her. Ms. Tompkins is simply an amazing educator. She takes the time to get to know her students, and she's engaging in her lessons. Our son is always so excited about what he has learned in school. She also cares so much about her children emotionally and is highly invested in her students. She makes them feel loved and safe and cared for. Her classroom is a place where learning is fun. We're so grateful for the impact Ms. Tompkins is making in our child's educational career. She is making such a difference. Ms. Tompkins, thank you for making your classroom a place where learning is fun. Thank you for the care and concern for your students, for making them feel safe and loved. We congratulate you on your selection as Cabarrus County Schools Hilbush Ford Teacher of the Month.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for all you do. Okay, board members, we will move to the approval of the minutes under items number 10, starting with 10.01. May I have a motion that the board approve the minutes for the open session meetings for November the 1st, 2021,
So
November
moved.
the 8th, 2021, and November 22nd, 2021, the special call meeting as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Adcock,
Second.
a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And next, we will move to items under number 11, which will start with our guest speakers, and I will need to read the disclosure statement, which is very long, so bear with me with our viewing audience and those that are here. In accordance with the Board Policy 2310, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments, An individual speaker on behalf of a group may be allowed to speak for 5 minutes at the discretion of the board chair. Speakers may sign up with the board clerk via email at boardclerk@cabarrus.k12.nc.us or in person no later than 12 p.m. noon the day of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. Speakers must provide contact information, including their name, group name if applicable, relationship to Cabarrus County Schools, address, and phone number, and list the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. During the public comment period, the board chair will recognize speakers in the order in which they signed in or emailed. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with the additional information in written form. If an unusually large number of people request to speak, a majority of the board may decide to reduce the time for each individual or to require the designation of a spokesperson for each group of persons supporting or opposing the same positions. At any time, the board may establish additional procedures to ensure that public comment sessions proceed in an efficient and orderly manner. The board chair will read or distribute a general statement at the beginning of the public comment period outlining the acceptable procedures. In consultation with the board attorney, the board chair may prepare additional guidelines consistent with this policy. Statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. Any limitation on public comments shall be viewpoint neutral. The board chair will have the authority to rule the speaker out of order. A person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts an official meeting and who upon being directed to leave the meeting by the board chair willfully refuses to leave the meeting is guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor pursuant to General Statute 143-318-17. And with that, we will get started, and speaker number 1 is Christina Cox. Good evening. If you will just key your mic, and great, and your time begins.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Christina Cox, and I'm a mother of a Cabarrus County Middle School student. On Friday, November 5th, my child was involved in a group of students reporting a threat of violence. The student that was reported told classmates that they shouldn't come to school next week because he was going to bring a gun and shoot the school up. After I had to contact the school to follow up, we were told by an interim leader that the individual that my child would not see the individual at school again. Yet 11 school days later, the individual walked into school where the group of students who were reported the threat were not prepared to see the perpetrator, and they were forced to sit next to this individual in class and proceed as if nothing happened. So on Tuesday, November 30th, I met with the school admin to try and understand what was happening. We didn't know it at the time, but this meeting took place 3 hours after a 15-year-old terrorized a Michigan school. From what I was told at 2 different meetings was that there was an investigation and threat assessment, but they could not tell me what that entailed. Conversations were vague and cryptic as the school administrators and resource officers tried to assure me that they were confident in their decision to allow the student to return, but again couldn't share what that evidence led them to believe. The one piece of information I was told was that they could not single out individuals to check their backpacks each morning. However, when I spoke with a Cabarrus district liaison, I was told that that is a part of the standard procedure for allowing the student back into the building when this threat of this nature is concerned. So what is it? I have a school resource officer telling me one thing and a district professional telling me another. As a parent, this is frustrating, disorienting, and does not instill trust. When looking at the North Carolina House Bill 670, making a threat of violence in school is a felony. This bill specifically lays out consequences. However, I'm not confident that the issue was reported to juvenile services to see if charges were warranted. And it's quite despicable that these students are watching this happen and feel as if a perpetrator is being protected. So that's why I'm here, because the situation around school safety is evolving and constantly changing, and our policies and procedures need to keep up at this pace. We as parents need clear visibility on the process that is followed when these threats occur, And if the school cannot tell me what is being done because of privacy concerns, I need to be directed to the Cabarrus School District representative immediately so that I don't hit these hurtful misunderstandings and that I can console my child so she feels safe at school. Safety plans should involve every teacher and administrator in the building, and the list goes on because there isn't a one-size-fits-all to the solution.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
I'd like to request for clarity. Did you say that there was a specific time frame where this happened?
Yes, this happened on a Friday, November 5th, was the threat that was reported.
Thank you, child, for reporting.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Speaker number 2 is Daniel Helms. Good evening.
Good evening.
If you will key your mic, please, and you can begin.
Thank you. Good evening and happy holidays to all. My name is Daniel Helms and I'm a CCS teacher and a parent of a CCS student. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I do want to use my time to address the public with a reflection on this school year so far. To those of you tuning in live or watching this on replay, thank you for your participation and commitment to staying informed. I wanted to take my time to share with you how this year has impacted myself and many of my colleagues. First, teachers are tired. This is not your standard post-time change, maintaining order before break tired. This is mental and physical exhaustion. This exhaustion comes from not having time. We're covering classes during our planning because of sub and staffing shortages. This means we don't have the time or energy to plan or use the engaging lessons that we have or to give the full amount of feedback we would like to. This exhaustion has teachers leaving the profession, further compacting the problem. When a teacher burns out, they cannot give the same level of energy and emotion to the students, and then guilt placed on them from outside, people questioning why they are failing in their jobs, further weighs on the teachers. If teachers continue to leave, I ask you to consider what kind of education your student will have. Administrative and support staff have bent over backwards, and thank God for them in our schools, by helping teachers, covering classes, doing whatever is in their power to show that they value the teachers. Second, teachers outside of our school building don't feel valued. Teachers are often not consulted or feedback is ignored when it's asked for. We feel that there is no one even willing to fight for some of the policies we've seen in other counties. Much has been made of the fact that Cabarrus County has committed to raising the local supplement. This is a positive step to recruit teachers in the wake of a massive statewide teacher shortage. But those decisions were made previously, not in response to the current environment teachers are working in. State leaders have trumpeted the raise included in the last budget, but the raise is 1.3% plus your step if you get it. Teachers who have been in the profession 15 to 24 years like myself don't get a step, so that raise is not even enough to keep up with inflation. Finally, teachers feel attacked. Teachers are worried that teaching content that is grounded in the standards and objectives approved by the state and the county may be misconstrued based on a misunderstanding of key terms and on policy or on partisan talking points. We're worried that one lesson that one person finds objectionable may result in more energy being wasted defending ourselves for simply doing our job. In this season of thankfulness and reflection, those in the public, here are some things you can do. Reach out to your children's teachers, support personnel and administration to encourage them. Become a sub or bus driver if you have the ability. Fill out the parent survey and let the county know what you think of your child's school and the county, and set the example for your children to advocate and teach them how to do it in a civil manner. This is a great county. I have been happy to work here, and I want to continue being happy to work here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I just thank you for coming and bringing that to our attention, and I just want to say that we support the teachers and we want to do what we can to help you.
Thank you.
Okay, speaker number 3 is Stephanie Bloxham. Good evening.
Hello, am I keyed up? Okay,
You
perfect.
are keyed up, ready to go.
Okay, so had a whole entire speech typed out, changed it about 4 p.m. I'll get to that in just a second. Number one, please vote mask optional. Dr. Kopicki spoke last week about how the numbers were specifically coming mostly from a cluster school. Other than that, numbers still look okay. Second, interestingly enough, my other thing was going to be, please allow volunteers into the schools to help teachers. I have begged my second grade teacher, please let me in. Let me come and help with students reading. Let me come make copies for you. Let me do something. Can't do it. Can't let volunteers in right now. That could really help teachers. Let's do that. Okay? Mostly, I'm coming to you tonight because your test and stay is already struggling. My family tested positive for COVID at the end of November. We went into quarantine just as your test and stay was going into effect. All three of my students stayed home for their times. I was told by all three schools, plus Cabarrus County Health Alliance, the day that they could return. We returned back to school. At 4 p.m., I received a text message from my middle son that the school told him to put on a mask or he was required to go home. But I didn't hear about this until 4 p.m. today. We were told, like I said, Cabarrus Health Alliance, all three school nurses, everything, that today was their return date. And then also referring back to the test and stay, it says that parents must sign an electronic consent to participate in this project. I didn't sign anywhere saying that if my son came back at the 10 days that was said, that he would be wearing a mask for the additional 4 days. But my biggest frustration is the whole testing on days 1, 3, 5, 7. If they can't even come back until day 7, have to test on day 5, why are we wasting time, resources, money, all that to test on days 1 and 3? Why are we not just waiting until day 5 and then testing? They can't come back till day 7 anyways. And then the other thing is, you cannot participate in this program if you have received if you get COVID or you've become a close contact outside of school. So my children were not allowed to participate in that program because it was my son that had COVID, came home with it. So we should not have even been allowed in the program to come back at 10 days. It should have been 14 days altogether, according to the writing. So there's a lot of loopholes, or this rule contradicts this one. And even talking to the nurse today, I had the nurse get on and say, nope, your return date was today. And then she said, oh, hold on, here's the actual school nurse. School nurse gets on the phone, she says, oh, nope, because he was a close contact, he has to wait for the 14. So there's still a lot of contradicting things going on. It is not clear. I don't know why we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us tonight. And our last speaker is Daryl Jarvis. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. First off, I've always understood that the purpose of this board and any school board is to ensure that the children are receiving a factual education. So far, all the research that I've done with CRT, hardly any of it is factual. A lot of it is degrading. Second, I have emailed all of you articles about mass studies and the current situation we are in. Yet only one of you responded. Thank you, Laura. It has become very obvious that the masks do not work. Third, why is your staff telling children they need to take this shot or vaccine, whatever you want to call it, on a continual basis? Why are they trying to coerce families into this shot? Should we be worried as parents? Are one of you planning on reporting us to a government agency? Or should we as parents start filing charges or reporting those that want to abuse our children? My child's well-being should not be a part of your political agenda, Carolyn and Keisha. Denise, you have allowed yourself to be manipulated by another. Please put a stop to it. Carolyn, thank you for all you've done as a public servant over the years. A vast majority of the community feels it's time for you to retire, and sadly, I have to agree with them. By the way, how was your cruise? If safety from this virus is such a concern of yours, shouldn't you have quarantined for 14 days to ensure that you don't infect anybody else? Keisha, I voted for you. I supported you. My family supported you. Until you started behaving in such a manner unbecoming of an American. I still have the messages. The multiple trips to the football games with no mask in a stadium of 60,000 plus people, I'm a little confused. Although you have your shot, not everyone at the ball games you attend has theirs. Where's your concern for your and your family's safety? You stood in my store and promised my family that you do not think masks work and you wouldn't vote for them. You also said that CRT did not belong in Cabarrus County Schools and that you would work with every board member to remove such a curriculum. One of the other objectives was to make sure a certain principal was removed, relocated, because you did not want to see that particular school suffer any longer or the history of that school lost. How's that process working? You also said that the educators and administrators need to be held accountable. Was that just a phrase to get elected? Tim, Laura, thank you for all you do. Thank you for the logic. Holly, we might not agree on a lot of things, but I appreciate everything you've done. Rob, have you done your homework? Y'all have a good night.
I'd like to request for clarity. You want to answer some questions, sir?
No.
Oh, okay, so no clarity. My question for the record is, what is an American, and who determines what an American looks like?
Okay, thank you for all being here with us tonight, and we are going to move on to items under number 12 and begin with actual board chair comments. Tonight, I want to, I know Dr. Kopicki and I need to have this discussion. This just came about. I'm sure some of you have actually seen this and understand that there may be a item of change to the board calendar regarding the primary election. So we probably really need to send this back to the calendar committee to look at what we had officially the March 8th date for the primary election, which has now officially been moved to May the 17th. So Dr. Kopicki, if you'll work with the calendar committee to take a look at that.
Yes, ma'am.
And see how that would work. We actually, I spoke with Carol Souls with the Board of Election, and she would like an answer. Okay. January the 4th will be our next work session. That is Tuesday versus our normal Monday, January the 3rd, since it follows a holiday. At this point in time, I think the board would like to recognize, just real quick, Mr. Larry Wigren, who is the systems engineer, that this will be his last meeting with us tonight, and he will be retiring officially at the end of December. So if we could appreciate him for just a moment. I'm not sure what you're going to do that one of us run in here and say, we need to change our password, and we can't make it happen. Who does that? That's right. So thank you, Larry, for all that you've done and for the years of service that you've committed to Cabarrus County School System. And also, just on behalf of the Board of Education, we would just like to say to have a happy and safe holiday. We know everyone is looking forward to it. I think there's been more than one person to state everybody is ready for a break, for sure. At this point in time, before we actually have committee reports, since it is nearing the Christmas time frame, if the board members would like to take an opportunity to make a statement, you may do so at this time, and I will begin with Ms. Sandage.
Well, I have on a mask today that says, thank you, CCS staff, and I just want to let you guys know that you are appreciated. I will continue to fight for things that help you feel appreciated, even if it's just a simple gesture. I want to just say thank you to the public for holding us accountable. Please continue to do that. Please continue to be a part of what's happening in your child's education. Take this time to spend it with your loved ones, because time is very short, and we've seen that in the last 2 years. I always say it takes a village, and it absolutely takes a village. That means us working together to make sure that this district and this community looks like what we want it to look like at the end of the day, and our children flourish as a result of that. The things that I vote on will continue to be in the best interest of our entire district, no matter what you look like, no matter what you bring to the table. You matter to me, and at the end of the day, I love you all, regardless of where you feel I am. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Mr. Furr?
Yeah, I'd just like to tell everyone, wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and during this time, just reflect on what this holiday actually means. It's a lot more than time off, and it's a lot more than vacation. Just understand the true meaning of what this holiday is about. Thank you.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's been a tough year, but we've been resilient. We've continued to focus on kids, and I really appreciate the time that everyone is putting in to our students. Again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas from the whole board. So thank you.
Ms. Blackwell?
So I will also echo that. Merry Christmas to everyone, and I definitely hope that you get to spend some quality time with your family. I know that I intend to do the same. Thank you, board, for the opportunity to be your new vice chair. I look forward to serving you guys in the best way possible and working as hard as we have been and continue to will work for these children and for Cabarrus County school staff. We very much appreciate all of the hard work that you have done. And hopefully there is a light at the end of this tunnel very soon, and we will continue to be here to support all of you. So thank you.
Ms. Carpenter?
Again, I would like to wish everyone very Merry Christmas, and also I want to thank all our staff for all the hard work they've done. We do recognize that, and we really do appreciate everything you've done. And for the gentleman that questioned my quarantine, I wanted to let him know I've not only had one COVID test, but I've had 2 of them since I've been back, because I want to make sure that I am safe and that anyone around me are, and that meets the CDC guidelines. So and then also while I was gone, I had 2 or 3 tests, and also I've been vaccinated and boosted. So I'm very, very conscientious of everything I do, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I was safe. So I want to make sure that he knows that. And so I have been, and all of them come back positive. And it wasn't just the rapid one. I did the other one too. So I wanted to make sure he knew that. And I'm very conscientious about those type things. And if he wants me to get him a copy of it, I'll be more than happy to even do that for him. And so I wanted to make sure he understood that. So I am very conscientious of those type things. And just to be sure, I am wearing my mask too. But I do want to thank everybody and wish the board that and congratulate everyone on their positions. But thank you, everybody. And again, I hope everybody has a safe holiday, and again, I thank everybody for what they do for this community, and I will continue to work very hard for our students and for our community, and I give it everything I've got and planning to keep doing that as long as I possibly can. And thank you very much.
Ms. Adcock?
I'll just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. I do want to say that I am really proud of this board and what we have done over the last year together, and we couldn't have done it together if we weren't in a team. And there's no I in team. And team means together everyone achieves more. So I look forward to working with this board over the next year to continue as a team to do and make the decisions that we need to make together. I really appreciate everything that our school system does for our kids, and I think our public needs to recognize the excellence in education that we provide to students. And even through COVID, we have worked tirelessly to provide that education, and that's what we are about, is education. Sometimes we get caught up in all this COVID and we forget the reason that we're here, but our students are our top priority. Our teachers are our #1 advocates for education in our system, and I just appreciate everything that our school system does and for our community.
And I will round out these marks with ditto to each of you. This board has went through some really rough challenges and decisions this past year. You know, for those of you that keep up with it, you really understand it, you followed it. We've had a lot of hard times. There are 2 new board members on here that have not even been with us during normal times. When we're doing things that's progressive, and not that we've not been progressive, but just normal things, the things that we're supposed to be dealing with education. Learning loss deficits have never been where they are now. That's going to be a huge challenge for this board, this administration, this school system to move us forward and to get kids somewhere back to where they need to be. We have got kids back in school. We have dealt with lots of changes within the system. Teachers are struggling. There's a lot of challenges out there for a lot of industries, but teachers are filling that first place, and we want to be there. We support all of our administration and our teachers, but we are here for our children, and we do have to make the best decisions based on that decision alone. This board is a board of 7 people. It is never expected to be a unanimous vote. That is great when we can do it, but we are individuals. We bring 7 different perspectives, backgrounds, lots of other experience and knowledge to this board. And sometimes we're going to agree and sometimes we're not, and that's just what it's about. But together, collectively, we will move the school system board with our administration as a team, because it's not just us. It's the team of the administration. It's the ones that are out there in the trenches, the teachers, our custodians, our bus drivers. It takes all of us to make this happen. So I just want to tell each of you, I appreciate your time. You answer the phone when I call, when there's something going on. It is extremely important that we stay tuned in and charged, for the admins, because there are times when they need us. We meet on the first Monday for our our work session, and the second Monday for our business session to make decisions. That's our voting night. Those are the 2 nights that we actually take action or make decisions based on this. But this is a 24-hour job for most of us. There is always, we're a huge system. There are always things going on. There are decisions being made. There's a lot of things that you don't see if you're not just here on camera with our business meetings and our work sessions. But I just want to say to each of you that I appreciate all that you've done. I appreciate the support. I look forward to working with you. And with that, I'll also say happy holidays to all, and we want you to have a nice, restful, and safe holiday and spend some time with your family. And with that, I will move on to 12.02 and turn it over to the superintendent for his comments.
Thank you. I want to begin my comments this evening with some well-deserved congratulations. I want to congratulate our very own Aston Berry, who has been selected the 2022 Southwest Region Teacher of the Year. Aston will now participate in the state selection process with other regional winners. The North Carolina Teacher of the Year will be named in the spring. Congratulations again, Aston. And Aston, you are an example of the excellence that exists in the Cabarrus County Schools. And I know you and I have spoken, and I'm sure that getting to know you, you would be the first one to advocate for the teachers in the system, and you continually tell me the excellence, and I see it myself firsthand. So I know you're a wonderful representative of the Cabarrus County school system. You continue to represent us well, and you are the exemplar that exists all across this district, and I thank you for the hard work that you're doing and for continuing to advocate for our teachers. So thank you and congratulations again. We're pleased to announce that Mary Beth Earp as our 2021 Cabarrus County Schools Teacher Assistant of the Year. We surprised Mrs. Earp, Dr. Bish and I, last week in her classroom at Cox Mill High School, and look forward to recognizing her at a future board meeting. I also want to welcome and congratulate Dr. Kelly Withers. No one is happier to see Dr. Withers than me. I can now be superintendent. I say that half in jest. But Dr. Withers started today as our new deputy superintendent. Her resume, her experience, her recommendations, the work that she has done advocating for children throughout her career, it just speaks highly to the qualifications that she brings here and the value that she brings here to Cabarrus County Schools. I'm extremely excited to have her as part of our staff, and as the pieces start to fall into play, I can tell you that you together with this board are putting together a wonderful administrative team here, and Dr. Withers is one of the exceptional leaders that you have hired to bring on to Cabarrus County Schools. And I can promise you this, you're going to get one of the best deputy superintendents you've ever seen. She is an absolutely fantastic leader, and we welcome her. Thank you, Dr. Withers, and congratulations. And now I have the distinct pleasure of announcing the winners of the 11th Annual Holiday E-Card Contest. This is my first time selecting the winners, and I was impressed by our students' artistic talent. It's one of the fun things of the job to see the students work and to see the talent that exists, and just being able to kind of be part of it is really neat. So with nearly 200 entries, selecting the winners was no easy task. And our theme this year in 2021 was peace, love, and kindness. How appropriate. Students submitted designs that interpreted this theme. 3 winning designs from 2 categories, traditional and digital, were selected, and they were used to be the official district holiday communications. So without any further ado, here are the winners of this year's contest. And again, we will invite the students to our January business meeting for recognition. And congratulations to these winners. In our traditional design category, our elementary school, Noah Highsmith, who attends Weddington Hills Elementary. Middle school, Jenny Krizalamoy, a student at Hickory Ridge Middle. And at high school, Ava Rakoff, who attends Concord High School. Congratulations to all of these students in the traditional design category. In our digital design category, elementary school was Kayla Elsishan, a student at Cox Mill Elementary. Middle school was Lily Chapman, who attends Hickory Ridge Middle. In high school, Alexa Moon, a student at Concord High. Congratulations to all of these students that were winners in the digital design category. I'm excited to share with you Cabarrus County Schools has been approved for its 3rd early college, and we'll be opening up this Cabarrus Early College of Health Sciences in August 2022. Worked with many people on this initiative, Dr. Hill, John LeGrand, Ben Aldred, many others were involved in this as well. I'm not trying to forget anyone, but there's some key people that were essential in making sure that this occurred and continue to offer opportunities and choices for our students. Again, another example of always push the needle forward and try and do better and present more opportunities for our kids. This is a phenomenal opportunity for our students to line up with the Atrium Health System and the Cabarrus Health Alliance and get this early college, the Cabarrus College, Health College, I'm probably saying that wrong, Cabarrus Health College, let me make sure I get that right, College of Health and Sciences, I apologize. But it's a great partnership for us and a wonderful opportunity for our students. So we look forward to that, and I thank all that were involved in that. There's still time to submit your program choice applications. The deadline is this Friday, December 17th. If you have any questions or concerns on that, I would encourage you to visit our website, www.cabarrus.k12.nc.us/program choice, and you can learn more about our program choice options and to apply. Cabarrus County Schools has partnered with local pharmacies and Cabarrus Health Alliance to host after-hours pediatric vaccine clinics. These clinics will provide families who choose to vaccinate their children with an accessible location to receive the vaccine. Information with times, locations, and registration details are available on our district website. Then I also wanted to share a couple quick health and safety reminders to our parents and students. The masks are required for students while riding on CCS school buses, so please make sure the students have a mask to wear on the bus. And then finally, our district is about to begin important work in developing a new strategic plan that will guide our work over the next 3 years. The first step in that process has begun. It's gathering feedback and collecting data. Last week, we kicked off the process under the leadership of Dr. Probst to launch a school quality engagement survey to measure school learning in environments and organizations. We're surveying our parents, our students, our community, I believe I said our teachers, administrators. This is a completely and totally anonymous survey, but we want the feedback from all of you so that we can make appropriate choices and allow our board to have informed information, to be informed with the information that you provide from those surveys so that we make accurate decisions moving forward to creating our strategic plan. So please make sure that you take the time to fill the survey out, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to call our offices, and we will send you the survey and get you set up to take that. And then finally, we're only a few days away from winter break, which is December 17th. Give everyone a much needed rest over the holiday season. And our students will return on January the 4th, with our employees returning on Monday, January 3rd. And then in closing, I would just like to say, echo the comments of the board. I've been here a very short time, but I can tell you this: you have an exceptional community that represents all that is good about what you want in a school system. You have a very strong, solid, progressive educational system. You have wonderful people that are dedicated to seeing the best for children. They're focused on the right things. People care. People are compassionate. People want the best for their children. Conversations center on children, what is best for children. This board, since I have been here, has consistently and constantly asked questions on what is best for students. And they continue to be focused on that. I commend them for that. Their job is not easy, and it's not easy sitting here, when your critics come up and they attack you personally. I would ask everyone to be civil and respectful, and to remember that we set the example for everybody in this school district, in our community. We are all leaders of the community, and we all want the best for students. I promise you personally, and I have no problem saying this because the people I work with I know feel the same way, we will continue to do what's best for students under this environment and any other environment. I just remind people to be patient, to be kind, and to reach out to us to communicate with you when you are confused or you're not sure about something. You may not like the response you get, but we will be honest with you and engage in dialogue. But it's important that we continue to set the table the right way for all of the community to see us as we demonstrate a very respectful civil atmosphere. And to the folks to my left and right, I can say to you, I've seen nothing but that. I've had many conversations with this Board of Education, publicly, and off camera as well, and they are focused on the right things, and I commend them for that. It is not an easy job, but I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to be here. I look forward to the future, and I'm excited about the potential that this district has, both in the leadership on the board and the leadership within the school system itself. And to our students and to our faculty, we do understand the stress and the pressure that you're going under. I would just ask you again to continue to do what you do. We cannot do it without you, and teachers, you are frontline heroes. Support staff, you are frontline heroes. Mechanics, you are frontline heroes. Cafeteria workers, you are frontline heroes. Administrative support, frontline heroes. Everybody that participates in this particular school system is a frontline hero because you're doing everything to help a child. My opinion, there is not a greater calling to reach out and help a child. I commend you all for that. I'm grateful and proud to be part of this team, and I promise you my best efforts forward. I wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday. Thank you.
Well, those are great remarks, and we appreciate that. We appreciate all your efforts, and one of the items I left off that the board has done is that we've hired an excellent superintendent. So we look forward to working with you as well. And Mr. Furr was down there acknowledging that I did not acknowledge that I should be missing him, and I should have acknowledged the great work he's done during his time as vice chair. So, yes. With that,
I got one comment. I mean,
absolutely.
I hate it for the viewing audience that's used to looking for my pretty face, and now you got to look at Laura. So, I'm sorry.
I feel sure they will recover. All right, with that, we will move to items under number 13, which is our report section, and we will start with 13.01, our board attorney. You have nothing tonight. Thank you, Mr. White. And with that, we will move on to 13.02, which are committee reports, and I'm going to begin with Ms. Adcock.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask Yash and Priya to come to the podium. I'm going to present them with certificates. So these, for those who don't know, these two students are our board interns. This year, we set up a program for these students where they had to go through lots of different departments. They had to go through all kinds of sitting on team meetings and meeting with people. And they were just so gracious with their time. They were excited to be here. And so their first semester is over, so they'll be leaving us as board interns. We'll have our second semester interns coming on in January. But we wanted to recognize them tonight just for all they have done for us, and we will see them again. They have really been excited about starting a service project in our school system, and I will be working with them to coordinate that going forward in the first quarter of the year. So congratulations. This is Yash Thacker. Congratulations. And this is Priya Punakar. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Adcock, and we also, on behalf of the board, would like to say thank you for your role in taking on the process of the board interns. It's something that we all look forward to, for students to be able to learn what the process of the Board of Education actually is. So thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do, correct?
You're welcome. They were just absolutely great to work with, and we're excited for the next two that are coming on in the second semester.
That is great. That is great. So if anyone else has a committee report, or I'll move on to mine. Anyone? Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the task force. We have a request from the Cabarrus Health Alliance. Barbara Shepard, who is currently represents the Health Alliance that sits on our task force, will be retiring. We wish her the best. And Erin Shue will actually take her place. With that being said, I wanted to get a little bit of feedback just real quick. You know, I know that we have representation. We have actually now, even though Erin and Barbara will change places, there's still 3 representatives on our task force from the Health Alliance. But I was thinking, when we were looking at the restructuring, and there's some that's going to come off and we're going to make some changes and add, I think it's really important, because we're going to cover some of this tonight in our COVID conversation and report, that it would be important to add a school health nurse from each level, elementary, middle, and high. And I think that would be very beneficial information to kind of get that firsthand information from them, just like we do with the teachers that are represented. You know, we have a lot of administration, we have parent representation, we have principals, you know, we have a lot of representation, county personnel, but we don't have that actual from, even though the Health Alliance is that participant, I think it would be very beneficial to hear that firsthand information from the school nurses. So I'd like to get just a little bit of feedback, that if everyone is okay with that, I'll make a couple of recommendations with Dr. Pickey to add that to our task force. Ms. Adcock?
I think that's a great idea. I think that'll help us to get a better handle on what actually is going on in the school system.
Great. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Ms. Blackwell?
100% agree.
Okay. Mr. Walter?
What time are your meetings? We're not taking them out of the schools,
we
are we?
haven't. We set them as we can. So
Yeah.
we will have to reconvene. The Health Alliance has asked for us to go ahead and do that, and we'll work with that. But there are different times according
Yeah,
to
let's try not to take them out of the school, but yes.
We will. Thank you. Mr. Furr?
I agree. Anytime you can get information back from the frontline people, then that's good.
Great. Ms. Sandage?
My only concern would be, like Mr. Walters was indicating, taking them away from school and then adding an additional task for them to complete. I think their days are pretty long at this point already, to the point where they need assistance to help them do what they're supposed to do. So that would be my only concern. Other than that, I think it would be a good idea to hear from them. If we can make sure that that doesn't include taking them away, I would be okay with that.
That is great, and I think we all agree upon that. Every person that sits on that task force sits under that same type of situation. So they're all either teachers, administrators, you know, they're all a part of our school system. So we're always having to be cognizant of that type of scheduling. So, you know, the school nurses would be considered the same. But I appreciate that. Dr. Kopicki and I will have that conversation. And with that being said, I will now move on to items number 13.03, which will be our Kids Plus Stabilization Grant. And that will be presented by Assistant Superintendent John LeGrand to the podium.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Kopicki, the viewing audience. As we have discussed in previous meetings, directors within our Auxiliary Services Department have continuously sought out opportunities to reward their employees for their dedication, their hard work, and their commitment over the past several months as we have navigated this pandemic here in Cabarrus County Schools. Tonight, we have some great news to share, as our Kids Plus department was recently awarded a significant grant that will not only provide bonuses for its employees, but will also fund the purchase of much-needed supplies and other operating costs. With me tonight is our Kids Plus director, Mrs. Amber Diggins, and I will turn it over to her now so that she can provide you with further details.
Good evening, everybody. I am Amber Diggins, the director of the Kids Plus Before and After School program here in Cabarrus County Schools. Thank you for having me tonight. I am very excited to share this news with you all. In early October, Governor Roy Cooper announced that the 2021 American Rescue Plan Act would allow the state of North Carolina to provide funds for child care programs in our state. The federal funding is a record one-time funding. It is $805 million that is being invested into North Carolina child care programs. And so the purpose of the grant is to make sure that we are receiving the financial assistance so that we can then in turn support the working families. We want to make sure that the working families continue to have access to high quality, affordable child care. Historically, you may be aware that child care programs suffer from difficulties in retaining and recruiting quality staff because of the compensation. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to stay competitive. So we are looking at making sure that we can provide those attractive compensation packages while keeping the tuition costs affordable for families. Child care providers are absolutely essential to the workforce, yet we're often underappreciated and definitely undercompensated. The child care stabilization grants are designed to provide that necessary funding so that we can retain the staff that we have and move forward with our recruitment efforts. We have to make sure that we're keeping the quality people that we have and that we're attracting quality individuals to join our team so that we can serve more children and families. So this particular grant is slated to run for 18 months, so it will run through September of 2023. Since the beginning of the pandemic, many child care programs have been eligible for state funding, pandemic relief funding. Unfortunately for our program, we have not been eligible for any of that funding. Thanks to the board, Cabarrus County Schools Finance Department, and the district in general, our program has been able to remain operational. We're very thankful for your support. We're very thankful that we've not been in the position that other districts have been in. We've not had to lay off any employees. We've been able to keep all of our centers open during the pandemic, and without your support, we would not have been able to do so. So thank you very much for your support. Although it can be very easy to become discouraged in not being eligible for the pandemic funding that other child care programs have received, we remain diligent and researching and seeking out those opportunities. And when this opportunity became available, and we learned that we were in fact eligible, we applied for the child care stabilization grants for each of our 21 licensed centers. Those applications were submitted on October 31st of this year. Our Assistant Director, Kelly Hodge, who could not be here today, spearheaded the application process for each of those 21 centers. Each application requested information related to the licensed capacity of each of our centers, our current and pre-pandemic enrollment numbers, our staff education and experience levels, and we have approximately 75 staff members, whether we remained operational for the duration of the pandemic, and what the impact the pandemic had on our programs related to closures, monthly operating expenses, and our monthly revenue from our tuition. All of this information was used to determine the award amounts for each of our centers. And so we are very excited to announce that in late November of this year, we did receive notification that all 21 of our applications were approved and the funds were awarded. So the total combined award amount is $1.2 million. So we're super, super excited about that. The funds are going to be awarded on a quarterly basis. So I mentioned earlier that the grant runs for 18 months. there's opportunity for additional funds at each of those quarterly increments. So we will be applying for reassessment at each of those points, and hopeful that we will receive additional funding at those times. Thankfully, the stabilization grants funds have very flexible utilization requirements, and so this means that we can use them to cover a plethora of needs. So we can use them to cover personnel costs, operating costs, equipment and supplies, goods and services, basically anything related to our operation, we can use them. The grant funds are structured into two components if you're interested. You have the fixed cost grants and the compensation grants. So the fixed cost grant component awards monies based on the licensed capacity and enrollment at our centers, whereas the compensation component looks at our staffing and allows us to use the funds for payroll and bonuses and employee retention, recruitment, things like that. We are required to submit monthly documentation, including staff information updates. So if we have staff join our team or we have staff leave our team, their education changes, level of experience changes, we have to update that monthly. We also have to provide enrollment updates, so enrollment in childcare fluctuates. And then we also have to provide receipts to show how we've used the funds. Again, there is a more formal reassessment process quarterly, and we will participate in that to ensure that we'll continue to receive additional funds pending availability. And at this time, the information that we've received indicates that we will be required to spend the funds by September of 2023. So we'll make sure that we're working with the finance department and John to make sure that any additional amounts are allocated and spent by that time frame. So for this initial award amount, we did meet with John and the members of the finance department in order to develop a plan and be able to make sure that we have the proper allocation of these initial funds. And so we broke them down into several categories, which you can see here. The first being just general operating expenses. So think things like the indirect costs paid back to the district and the funding that the district has provided to us from the local funds, we will be repaying that. The next category is, of course, employee retention and appreciation bonuses, which is a huge piece of it. Recruitment bonuses, of course, supplies and materials for the children. Need to make sure that they have the materials that they need. In childcare, there are a lot of consumables for the children. Another key category is scholarships and tuition assistance. So I'm not sure if you all are aware, we have been providing refunds and tuition credit for our children who have been quarantined. So if the children are excluded due to COVID-related reasons, they are not responsible for paying their tuition for that period of the exclusion. To date, we have already issued over $9,000 in tuition credit since August. So we anticipate that's going to continue for the rest of the school year. And then, of course, there's going to be other items as approved by Cabinet and the Finance Department. And, of course, we'll keep you guys updated on what those items would be. Tonight, I do want to specifically focus on the two bonuses that we plan to offer using these funds. So the first and foremost is the employee retention and appreciation bonus. So many businesses are experiencing staffing shortages. We're no exception. Actually, we've been challenged with staffing shortages for many years now. Unfortunately, these have not gotten better, they've only gotten worse since the pandemic. We also realize that many companies are offering more attractive compensation packages, and that's a contributing factor to the number of our employees that have resigned for other employment. And remember, the child care sector was already seeing disparities pre-pandemic. That has only increased. Many of our employees hold multiple jobs just to make ends meet for their families. The bottom line is that we can absolutely not serve the families in our community without a dedicated and high-quality workforce. And our Kids Plus employees have displayed dedication, flexibility, and ingenuity as we have continued to serve the children and families during the pandemic. Last school year, our team rose to the challenge to provide full-day remote learning support for our families while we operated under Plan C. When the district transitioned to Plan B, our staff adapted, we were flexible, and we continued to provide care. We offered before and after school care at all of our sites while simultaneously providing remote learning support for the children on their off-track days. flexibility, determination, and positivity was required in order to make all of this happen, and it was truly amazing. Our team did a phenomenal job, and they continue to do a phenomenal job. We truly do have the best team around. We want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to show our team that they are valued and appreciated. And I know many of you are watching right now. Thank you for all of your hard work. We have to keep our staff. So, I am super excited to announce that we will be issuing the appreciation bonuses to our employees. Our 40-hour employees will receive a $1,000 bonus semi-annually until June of 2023. The bonus amount is going to be prorated based on the number of hours the employee works. So for example, our 20-hour employees will receive a $500 bonus semi-annually. And while these bonuses are certainly going to be appreciated by our employees, we all know and understand the value of spoken appreciation. So I would encourage all of you, if you have not already, please visit our sites. Get to know our Kids Plus staff, get to know the children in our program, and be sure that you're thanking them for their dedication and hard work. The next really important piece to being able to serve more families in our community is acquiring additional team members. Recruiting quality childcare providers is a difficult task under normal circumstances, and that is only exponentially more difficult now during the pandemic. Our typical pool of applicants simply does not need to work. They're not interested. We're seeing the lowest percentage of applicants in recent history. When we do have applicants and we contact them for an interview, most of the time they do not show up. If they do show up, they decline the position due to the compensation offered. We're hopeful that by offering this attractive recruitment bonus of $1,000 for our first 30 new hires, that we'll see an increase in the number of applicants so that we can grow our workforce to be able to serve more children and more families and alleviate our wait lists. We hope that by recruiting additional team members, we'll also really alleviate the stress felt by our current workforce. Right now, we have to be very creative and flexible in filling those vacancies on a daily basis. Any given day, we start out with 15 vacancies, any given day. And we have to move staff around. They have to be flexible to make sure that every group of children that we have enrolled has a loving, caring, qualified adult to be with them for that morning or that afternoon. So as you can imagine, we are super thrilled to be able to have this grant awarded to us. We're very grateful for your continued support. Our goal is to make sure that we're continuing to provide the highest level of care for our children in our community, in our district. We're thankful for this funding. We want to make sure that we're able to continue to operate and show our employees our appreciation. If you guys have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, and I will begin with Ms. Adcock.
This is great news. Thank you so much for coming and sharing it. I always like to hear really fun and great stuff, especially when it is about money and us being able to recognize our staff. I can personally say that Kids Plus saved my life as a parent when I had 2 kids that I had to go to work, and it's very valuable, not just for that reason, but after school programs. They help them with their homework. I mean, there's just so much value there. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Ms. Carpenter?
Well, I have to say the same thing, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about our Kid Plus program. And years ago, when my children were younger, they were in the Kids Plus program, and they enjoyed it so much. And again, everybody knows when I see new money coming into the system, my eyes just light up. And so I'm going to tell John, go out and find some now for the nutrition program, transportation program. Find some more and bring it in, okay? That'll make me even happier. That'll be my Christmas present. How about that? All right, thanks a lot.
Ms. Blackwell?
So I also am very familiar with Kids Plus through personal use of it myself, and have seen the amazing work that they do, the programs that I've gone to. Unfortunately, this was all prior to COVID when we got to actually have talent shows and go see those. But the folks that work there are just tremendous and absolutely loving to all of these children. 21 applications that you had to have filled out for all of this. I can't even imagine the task that took. So it only speaks to your dedication to this program. And so we are so grateful to have you being the one to spearhead this and taking the time to do all of that to find this money. I would really encourage the public, now that this is out, we're looking for 30 good people. You can get $1,000 bonus if we hire you. So please, if you know anyone that is looking for a good position, that has a passion for children, please apply for these jobs. We really need it and would really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, Kids Plus also helped my family when we were in middle school. But, is this up to $4,000 for a person over this period of time? Is that what you're saying?
So the initial award amount was $1.2 million, and when we reassess quarterly, there is a possibility that could decrease a little bit depending on if our staff changes, but it should not increase. It should be approximately around the 1.2.
So you're saying there's a $1,000 bonus every 6 months?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking specifically about the bonus.
Yes.
Yes, so the bonus is $1,000 prorated, and that is on a semi-annual basis. So they'll have their first bonus awarded in their January 18th paycheck, and then the next one would be at the June
which is
paycheck.
another $1,000.
Yes, another $1,000, and then another one January of 2023, and then June of 2023.
So that's
Yes.
again $4,000. That's
Yes.
very attractive, I would think.
Yes.
For bringing somebody on board for them.
Yes.
What is our starting rate for working? Kids Plus?
So that is actually being changed currently with the adoption of the new state budget. So the starting rate of pay would be the 13.
$13 an hour?
Yes.
That's the new rate or the old?
That would be the new rate.
The new rate will be 13.
Yes.
Plus, if they stick more than 90 days.
Yes. So
you get-
the retention bonus, they would be eligible after 90 days of employment.
That's pretty significant.
Yes.
That's a-
So for our recruitment, they would receive the $1,000 as a recruitment bonus, and then after 90 days of employment, they would receive their recruitment bonus. And then if they have been with us 90 days prior to the disbursement of the appreciation bonus, they will also receive the appreciation
That's for
bonus.
full-time. So part-time folks will get the $500, is that?
Correct.
Which is still adds up quite a bit.
Yes.
Even for a part-time person.
Yes.
How many employees do we have now? And you're saying there's 30 vacancies?
We currently have 75 employees in our program. We do have at least 30 vacancies in order to be able to alleviate our wait lists. We have 15 immediate needs.
How many students are we serving?
Currently, we have a little over 1,000.
So 75. And how many sites are we using?
We have 21 before and after school sites, and we have 2 morning-only sites at middle schools.
Thank
So
you very
23 centers altogether.
So we're spread out pretty good to really help our families. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Mr. Farr?
Yes, I'm also a board member that's family use Kids Plus, so I think all of us are very familiar and thankful for Kids Plus. And I also like to, whomever had the initiative to start this implementation or implementation to fill out the applications and to seek this grant, thank you very much. And also to you, it's refreshing when someone on staff or a leader in the district stands before us and gives the praise and the glory to workers. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. It really, truly is our employees. And I know Ms. Blackwell spoke earlier about spearheading. That this was all Kelly Hodge, our assistant director. She's the one who handles the application process, and she's the one who's going to be making sure that all of that gets reassessed. And like I said, it's all of our employees on the ground. They're the ones who are making this happen.
Ms. Sandage?
Wow, this is great. I haven't had the experience like the rest of the board members. I can honestly say I couldn't afford to put my kids in Kids Plus, but I did work at a daycare, and we always look to Kids Plus as the creme de la creme of daycare. So please let your staff know that they are absolutely amazing, and people see that. Anytime we can appreciate our staff, I totally am okay with that, and I love to see that occurring. Can you tell us how folks can apply to be staff?
Sure, absolutely. So they can go to the district website and they can click on the human resource and go to current vacancies, and there is a link there for the before and after school program. We also on our Facebook page have a link available. There is also on our Kids Plus website, there's links available in order to apply.
Last question.
Yep, sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So the only other question I had was, does this allow for scholarships for kids who maybe or their parents can't afford to send them to Kids Plus?
That's a really great question. We have talked about that internally. We are looking at that with the hopeful award of the additional funds. That is something that we're looking at being able to do. Currently, we're using the scholarship aspect in order to be able to offer this tuition credit and the refunds for families who are excluded. But that is definitely something we're looking at, being able to provide scholarships.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one more question, and I'm just got to test my memory. Isn't it like half the expense of a normal daycare? Kids Plus, I mean, isn't it very...
You're talking about the tuition?
Yeah.
So tuition, we are pretty competitive with other before and after school programs that serve the school age.
Yeah.
When you're looking at child care programs in general, you have the infant and toddlers, which is considerably more expensive than school age. As far as the tuition rates, we're competitive with other school age.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, we also offer a discount for our CCS employees, which makes it possible, especially for teachers that teach in a different grade level than their child is presently attending. You know, have to drop their kids off early or come pick them up later than the school dismisses. Then it makes the schedule doable for a lot of our employees. So we're very thankful for that as well.
So you just took those words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
That was perfect timing. No, that was great. So actually, I was thinking, Amber, as you spoke, you know, this may be, and I hate to give you something else to do, but, you know, with our task force, we really want that to be representative of our whole entire district. Every department, every person who touches our kids, you know, or has a decision piece of that. So I think it would be a good opportunity to add you to our task force too, or your designee, you know, whomever you think is important.
We would be more than happy to
That
be
is
part of
great.
that.
It is good to hear from you directly. You know, directors do a great job, you know, summarizing, but sometimes it's good to hear, you know, what's going on there. You know, we're finding that out with some other areas as well too. The task force is doing a great job. You know, it does represent a lot of different pieces and parts of our school system that impacts the county. So, you know, what we've thought as a board that would bring to us has really done that well. But also, you know, with this piece of information, we've been getting updates that they keep, you know, poor Dr. Bish, you know, every time we ask, can we get that as an update? Can we get that as an update? But I think that overall summarization report is really important to see what are we out there doing. You know, where are we falling short? You know, we know that we started way back, and we were very proactive at the beginning of starting the bonus process and using the ESSER funds to, you know, award teachers and TAs, and, you know, we started with the bus drivers, and, you know, we've done some really good things, but where are we in that? You know, this is probably a time to take a look at it. And Dr. Kopicki and I will actually have that conversation, but I think Dr. Bish kind of hear that maybe we need to get started on that this piece tonight is a good one to add to that budget update as well. You know, what we've done, what we're going to do, what does that look like now, you know, with other counties. So I would really appreciate your participation on the task force.
Absolutely, be happy to.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation.
Hey, and thank you. And before we step away, I just want to say what everyone just saw. Amber is a rock star, and she has done a phenomenal job with our Kids Plus program. We're lucky to have her, and just want to say thanks to her and Kelly Hodge for making this happen, because this is a game changer for our Kids Plus program.
Absolutely, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, now I will ask for a motion for the board to approve the consent agenda with the deduction of policy number 4150 that was removed and placed on the consent or the action agenda at number 15.03. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Mr. Walter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And we will with that move to items under number 15, which is our 15.01. We will start with our Second Chance EOC summer program and begin with Dr. Crystal Hill to the podium. Absolutely, I did. I jumped you all together. The most important part of this, and you are not getting out of it, so don't even try. Okay.
I was okay to move on.
No. We will have you back. 13.04, which is our CCS COVID-19 data and information update. And Dr. Kopicki, we will turn this over to you.
Thank you. Okay, and board, we're going to take a look at our metric as it is this week, as we have been doing for the last several months. Currently in the county, we are at 8.8% positivity rate in the county. That is up from 8.4% last week. Our cases are at 999 cases. Our current positives this week are 133 in the Cabarrus County Schools. We have 712 current quarantines, which again puts us in the 2 to 0 equation. Excuse me, the 2 to 2 equation. Two in the red and yellow, 2 in the red and orange, and 2 in the green. This is an update of the cases, the COVID data through December 6th. You can see the 133 positives there, the 712 quarantines, and to date we know that 19 of those quarantines have turned positive. This is a look at a highlight of when we were in mask situation from August 23rd to October 18th. And then we went mask optional from October 25th to November 29th. In October 25th, we were at a 6.5% positivity rate. When we went mask optional, we dropped down to a 5% rate the next week, to a 5.2% the following week. We bounced up to a 5.6% on November 15th, bounced back down to a 5% on November 22nd. In the last 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, we have seen the rate go from 6.4 to 8.8. Another graph, another way of looking at what our quarantines are on the green line and what our case positives are on the blue line. And the red line indicates when we went mask optional. So our positivity rates have slightly inclined as our quarantines as well. You can still see previous, when we were in mask, we did have some weeks where it was very high, as we have some high weeks when we were mask optional. This chart is giving you an average of some information. So when you look at the confirmed positive cases, we were mask mandated 9 weeks, we've been mask optional for 7, so 16 total weeks. Mask mandated, we had an average of 164 cases, 83 while we're mask optional, and right now it's overall about 129 cases. The high was 296, the low was 131. The high was 296 for mask mandated and 131 for mask optional. The low for mask mandated was 57, the low for mask optional was 48. When you slide down to the quarantines, the average quarantines when we were masked was 467, mask optional 503. The high under mask mandated was 1,079, mask optional 712, which is this week. The low was 233, and the mask optional was 213. So what I want to point out to you is this. Again, well, I have said from the beginning we should be masked, but I am watching the data, and I would say this to you: when we break the data down and we look at the data, the positivity rate in the county is obviously at 8.8%. The cases are high, but it's not representative of what's taking place in Cabarrus County school systems. What I mean is this: 18 of our 20 schools have 18 of our 20 schools, which is 90% of our elementary schools only. Our elementary schools, 18 of 20 of them, have between 0 and 25 quarantines. So let me give you an example of that. Cox Mill Elementary has 7, Harrisburg Elementary has 3, Pitt School Route has 8, R. Brown McAllister 9, W.R. Odell Elementary and Primary both have 9, Weinkauf 8, Wolf Meadow 4, Carl Fur 11, Beverly Hills Steam 17, A.T. Allen 18, Patriots 14, Mount Pleasant 18. We have two schools that are outside of that equation. One school is Hickory Ridge. They have 33 cases, and one school, our toughest situation right now is Bethel Elementary with 74 cases. So again, 90% of our schools are somewhere between 25 and less. I just gave those numbers to indicate there are a lot of quarantines, aggregate total, but when you break it down, it's not as I don't want to say not troubling. It's concerning across the board. We're dealing with COVID, right? But you watch the numbers, you say to yourself, okay. When you look at the positives, I'll come back to that. Look at the middle schools, 63% or 5 of our 8 middle schools are between 0 and 25 quarantines. Two schools are between 26 and 50, and one is between 51 and 75. CC Griffin has 8, Concord Middle has 7, Harris Road has 4, Hickory Ridge 4. Mount Pleasant Middle 15, Northwest Cabarrus 28. Your two high schools are Jan Fries with 42 and Winkler Middle with 60. When you look at the high schools, 8 of our high schools, or 80% of our high schools, are between 0 and 25. 6 at Concord, 6 at Cox Mill, 2 at the Early College High School, 2 at Early College Technology, 8 at J.N. Robinson, 10 at Hickory Ridge High, 17 at Mount Pleasant High, 19 at Cabarrus High. 2 schools, one is between 26 and 50, that would be Central Cabarrus at 35, and 1 West Cabarrus has 54 quarantines. When I take a look at the positives, the cases, when I look at positives, those that confirm COVIDs in the schools, 19 of our 20 schools have less than 10 cases. When I look at our middle schools, 8 of them have less than 10 cases. When I look at the high school, 10 schools have less than 10 cases. So when you disaggregate the data, we're managing through COVID. I'm not sitting here saying to you that these numbers aren't troubling, because they are. I'm not saying that we're not in a situation where, again, we're dealing with COVID. But I do want to say that I do believe that we are and have been and will be for the immediate future working in a COVID environment. And I think that we're going to break December 17th. I would say to the board, let's stay the course for the week. We come back on January the 3rd with our employees, and January 4th we have a work session. That data January 4th will not be updated because we will not have been in school. And I know people are concerned about the Christmas break as we are. In talking with the Cabarrus Health Alliance, I am not quoting folks, but I know that the Thanksgiving, what they call it, the Thanksgiving bump, is what they believe some of the indications were for some of the bump. That's not saying that's the only reason. It's not saying it's specific to Thanksgiving, but the holiday seasons tend to increase our numbers. So I think there's concern over Christmas that the numbers may go up, and we have some angst over that. But on January 4th, we won't have that accurate data because the kids will not have been in school. Come January 10th, when we come back for a business meeting, we'll at least have a week behind us where we can take a look at the data and see if it is escalated to a point where we need to make some decisions on masking, optional, or masking. So right now, and again, I've been the proponent for masking, I would say stay the course for the end of the week. The other thing, in talking with our folks here, some of the fellow administrators in the building and the Ed Center only, I'm meeting with the principals this week. I'm going to talk with the principals about their take on what's going on and get some frontline feedback from our folks. I have a meeting with them on Thursday, I believe it is. I meet with all the elementary and middle and high school principals, so I'll have a good chance to talk with them. It may be that we may have to approach this a little differently. In some schools we have to mask because there are big clusters or they're high numbers, and we have to mask them for short periods of time. Where other schools, I mean, if I have a case where there are zero positive situations and only 8 cases, or 1 positive case and only 4 quarantines, it stands to reason that it may not be the best approach to mask the entire district. It might be the best approach to mask those hotspot areas for short periods of time. That's a conversation we can have as we move forward, but I think we need to look at that January 10th. We come back, we had that initial data coming back from Christmas. To the Test to Stay program, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but from memory, if I recall it correctly, currently we have 195 students participating in the Test to Stay program and 6 staff members. We have 297 consents, I believe. and I'm very close on that number. The Test to Stay program has put a lot of stress on our nurses for sure, and on the support staff that the county has hired with us to help them through that. But we're in the process of breaking that data down and seeing what does that look like per school. In other words, how many kids are in each school that are actually in Test to Stay? Is it 10, is it 15, is it 20? And that's what we're breaking down this week. Myself and mainly John Bastley is breaking that data down and giving it to me. So I have had conversations with the county, and they, I want to say they, one in particular is concerned about the increase in COVID in the community, and they're worried about the increased pressure on our nurses, which we all acknowledge, and that we may have to reconsider the Test to Stay program. In other words, we may have to take some work off of our nurses' table to say, hey, either we're going to do Test to Stay, or we're not. We have to be able to live with something in COVID. And if we remove the Test to Stay, it's likely that our quarantine numbers would go up based on the 195 students that are participating in the Test to Stay currently. I don't have the disaggregate on that, so I couldn't report to you by school as to what that really looks like. And I think over the holidays we can take a real good look at that data and come back with a more informed approach to the board. Say, okay, we have 2 solid weeks of data in because this is the second week of the program, and then be able to inform me as to what we think of that. I also want to reach out and talk to some of the nurses before I break for Christmas to get some personal feedback. I'm going to go out to the schools and talk to some nurses. I won't say I'll hit 43 schools, but I'm going to go to some of the hot spots, and I'm going to go to some of the elementary, middle, and high schools to get some personal feedback from them to see what some of their concerns are. Again, if we eliminate Test to Stay, the board has to understand clearly that your quarantines are going to go up, and it's what do we want to live with in terms of how do we want to continue to attack this problem. I think across the board, the teachers, the nurses, the support staff, they've done a phenomenal job keeping your kids in school. We heard from a teacher today. It was Daniel Helm. I don't for a second think anything he said was untrue. They are exhausted, and we do understand that. So these are just some of the things I'm sharing with you that we need to kind of keep taking a look at. So let's get to the end of the week. Try and take some time over Christmas, really analyze this data, talk to our nurses, again, reach out to the Health Alliance, see what their thoughts are on this, and see where we go moving forward. And if you have any questions now, I'll happily engage.
So I will begin with Ms. Adcock.
First of all, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Kopicki, and to Mr. Basselis for continuing to give this information to us. I feel like looking at it now and then going back a year from today, this information gives us so much more value in what's really going on at the school level, and instead of us looking at just a broad number. So thank you very much for all the hard work, because it is a lot to have to put this together. In speaking to our staff shortages in the schools in regards to this, is there a way we can hire administrative staff that can help the nurses to do the paperwork? Because of what I've heard is that the paperwork to do the contact tracings and other things, that's what overwhelms them, and it seems like someone could do that very easily and take that off their plate.
It's a great suggestion. I wouldn't say no. So what I will do is I'll follow up asking that question of our nurses to see what their thoughts are on some suggestions from them. So I think it's a great idea. And then my second thought would be I would also have to check with our finance department, because everything has a cost to it. And I know no one wants to hear that, but that's the reality of it. So give me some time, do some homework this week, and when we come back over the break, I'll have that information for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I just want to add, just because you and I were a part of that conversation last week that might preempt some of this conversation moving forward to the task force. Dr. Kopicki and I were in a meeting regarding the Health Alliance and the things that are going on with the nurses and at the different levels. So this board knows that back in July we asked for additional help for the school nurses. That was prior to your time, so we'll bring you forward. And then in September we asked again, and we're told, well, y'all need to ask for it, so we formally did. The Health Alliance has been very proactive in trying to get those additional personnel, and I know that John Basselis can speak to this probably a little bit better. But what the reality that we're finding is there's not a lot of pool to draw from, so that as much as they're trying to attempt to do that, and they've got additional staff in a majority of the schools, they're not staffing all of them at the rate they'd like to, and or they're not full-time, they're part-time. So, we see that there's a true challenge, because what we're asking and what most people don't realize, and even a lot of us didn't realize, the school nurses that are in our schools and on our campuses aren't our school nurses. They are actually Health Alliance employees. So therefore, by default, they're being asked to be the school nurse, the COVID testing nurse, and the person who makes the quarantine, isolation, contact tracing calls. And that's a lot. That's just not really feasible, for those nurses. And we say, okay, we recognize that piece of it and we need to work on it. But the negative impact that even makes that worse is a lot of that responsibility falls back on the teachers. Because, you're having teachers going, okay, is this something that really I need to send this child to the nurse's office for, because they're so busy with all that, so there's a lot of judgment calls out there being made, which, really I think is a huge problem that could happen for us at some point in time. So we're having those conversations. I think this is a great request from the CHA to add this discussion to the task force, and you and Ms. Sandage actually are on this task force, so I think it'll be some good conversation to move it forward. But it's not that they're not doing that. I think we just have to all look at that, what it looks like. So is that, there a couple of the surrounding counties are doing it a little bit different. The nurses are the employees of the school system. Some of the other counties are hiring medical staff to help with the quarantine, but the Health Alliance is actually mandated by the General Statute 143 to do the contact tracing and the quarantine. It's really not our staff, but when you are the staff as a school nurse of the Health Alliance, that responsibility is being, defaulted back to them. So it's a little bit of a snowstorm there right now, that we all need to kind of sit down at the table and figure out how we move forward with that. Because this time last year, we looked and said, we were looking at vaccinations were going to be the answers. We were going to get the vaccinations, and everybody was going to be able to take a breath. We were going to go back into some normalcy of the school system. Well, that didn't happen. Now we're back to boosters. We're leveling up on what these answers are going to be, but we're not actually getting there. We've got to keep these kids in schools. We're quarantined at a great rate, and that's unfortunate because the positivity rate out of that, or symptomatic kids, is very, very small. So we have to really look at that. So we are going to push that back to the task force to take that on, and you will be a part of that as well.
Okay. I'll do it there too.
Okay, great. And Ms. Carpenter.
Yes, and I had asked earlier to John, the other John, one question for him to get me some information, if he had the number of the clusters we've had since we've started school.
I do have that for you, I believe. It's on there a second. While he's getting that, if you have any other questions, we can address those as we wait for that.
Okay, now, and two, when you got that, did you check and see if we had any at all when we were masked? Masked?
No,
I
go
can't
ahead.
even say that.
Thank you. So, Ms. Carpenter, during the time that we were masked, we had seven clusters.
Oh, we did have some.
We had seven prior to being masked. We had 5.
Hey, Mr. Raslis, I hate to interrupt
Oh,
you, but can
okay.
we bring that slide back up just so everyone can?
Okay. Sure. It's not working.
You just showed it, so that was very helpful.
It's on there. There it is. Okay. All right, so we've had a total of 12 clusters this year, and that's athletic clusters, it's bus clusters, classroom clusters. So it's 7 for the time where we're in the mask mandatory, and 5 since we've been mask optional.
5, 7, and 5, so we've had 12.
That's
Okay.
right.
What a surprise.
So, but 12 is what we've had total.
12 is what we've had total.
And that's counting all the ones we've had this past week that they've talked about?
Yes. So, yes, I think I understand what you're saying. It certainly feels like there's just a barrage of them is how it feels. But the total number that are confirmed clusters from my discussions with the Health Alliance that's an accurate representation of those numbers.
Okay, because it seemed like we had a bunch, 3 or 4 just this past week or so, which are not included in those other ones, because see, the state has a number, and I usually count those, and I know those weren't included in those other number. And I John, I'm not trying to, but that, and those weren't in those other ones that just came through this past week.
Sure, I completely understand. It certainly feels like a lot of them. It's something I checked and rechecked with the Health Alliance as late as very late this afternoon before this.
So
this
you're
meeting.
saying since August of this year, or this past year, to right now, you're saying we've had a total of 12 then?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you very
Sure.
much. I appreciate that with that total.
Anything else, Mrs. Carpenter?
That's it. That was just something I was curious about on that.
Thank you. Ms. Blackwell?
Okay.
Ms. Blackwell. So, again, thank you so much for always getting these numbers to us. They are so helpful to look at in black and white to see the difference between what we have, the numbers that we had previously when the masks were mandated versus the numbers that we have when they are optional. I've said from the very beginning of all of this that our numbers are going to fluctuate. We are going to have to live with COVID. I think it's going to end up being one of those viruses that we're just going to have, unfortunately, in our society for a long time. We've had 2 vaccines, an opportunity at a booster. We have now opportunities for children to get vaccinated if they choose to. At some point, we're going to have to go back to normal. At some point, we're going to have school, not masked. People are going to get vaccinated if they choose to, and if they choose not to, then that's going to be their choice. If the vaccines work the way that they're supposed to, then if you do get COVID, you probably won't have much more than the common cold. And so I feel like at some point, I mean, here we are almost 2 years into this, going back and forth. I'm not going to vote based on how the wind blows for masks or not masks. I will continue to remain that we should keep masks optional. At some point, I hope that we don't have to have masks at all. But I do appreciate the numbers. I know that just based on the governor's mandate, we have to vote on this monthly right now. I hope at some point we can get to the point where this is not even a question of voting on this. But like I said, I do know that these numbers are going to change. They're going to dip. They're going to rise based on holidays, based on all kinds of different things. But you know, I will continue to say and stay where I have been this entire time, which is these kids need to be in school, and they need to not be mandated to have to wear a mask on their face. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, I think last year at this point we were over 13% positivity rate, so we're still nowhere close to that. I guess what stands out to me here is that last column on whatever that chart is, page 4, where you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks of 90% or more of our students that are being quarantined don't get sick. That's a huge number, in my opinion. That means we're still sending kids home that really shouldn't be home. So I think we really still need to address that issue. Those are my comments.
Mr. Furr?
Yes, I echo what Ms. Blackwell said. You know, some of us on this board have been saying the same thing for a year, that we were going to have these peaks and valleys, and there's no way around it. And we've even talked about some schools having to wear a mask and some not. So this is a battle that we anticipated. I appreciate the numbers that you guys have given us every week. I mean, every month. You know, it's real eye-opening. But just like Mr. Walter says, we have to figure out a way to handle quarantines. I don't know the answer. The test and stay, I guess, don't know if that's the answer. But when 90% of the kids are okay and we're sending them home, that's helping no one. You know, the federal government gave us money to try to recover from the lost time in the summer. And, you know, and we're still sending kids home at an alarming rate to me. So I think that's our biggest battle going forward. And after Miss Sanders speaks her piece, and I'll make a motion that we stay mask optional.
It's on the piece of the action agenda, so. Yeah. So, Ms. Sanders.
I just want to be first.
We know you do. Ms. Sanders.
So thanks for the information as always and keeping up with what's going on around our district. So I just want to make sure I'm looking at this correctly. So from August 24th, which is when we started in school, correct, to October 23rd, we were mask mandated, correct?
Should pull it up for you. You are accurate. August 23rd to October 25th. If we can get this to get there, well.
And then, so I got the 24th. I need to change that. And then, so October 23rd, we started mask optional and now we're at December 13th.
That's correct.
Okay, so really we haven't exceeded the amount of time that we exceeded during the mask mandated.
Please say that again.
So really we haven't gotten to the length of time where we were mask mandated to compare the two appropriately.
Correct. We were 9 weeks mask and 7 weeks max option.
Okay, gotcha. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. I agree with Rob's point about the quarantines, and I also agree with your point about the staff being overwhelmed and the nurses especially being overwhelmed with the test and stay program. So if that goes away, you know, are we thinking about other options? Because in my opinion, that's the problem that we started with, and that's going to be the problem that we end with as well. So almost that we didn't do anything.
Yeah, so to put some perspective around test to stay in the second week, you have 712 quarantines this week, which means 712 people that chose not to go on a test to stay. They chose quarantine. Because with test to stay in play, there really is no reason to quarantine, as long as you follow through on that program and you continue the testing. However, if the numbers continue to go up, it's more work on our nurses and our personnel that, you know, that's why I want to talk to our nurses, see what help do they need, to some of your questions, some of your suggestions. Can we still maintain that program and pull some of that stress away from our nursing team? If not, you know, I may come back to you, because I don't know, I want to hear from them. I may come back to you and say, you know, maybe test to stay is an option we need to go away from, because you have to start looking at the health and welfare and the mental health of your workers, you know, versus the quarantine situation. I know it's a trade-off. I know it's not what you want to hear, but I'm just being honest. I'll give you the facts. You make the decisions on this on that end. You know, if we get rid of test to stay, your quarantines are going to go up, and as I stand here, we don't have an answer to, even though we know the data is showing us that most of these kids are not turning positive. It's a very low percentage. I don't have another weapon in my holster to evaluate outside of test and stay. Mm-hmm. So our hope was that the test and stay will gain momentum. I'm excited. You have 197 kids involved, 195 students involved in it, so it's 195 quarantines that are not being quarantined. They're in school, which is great. That's what we want, kids in school. But I have to get a better, deeper understanding of the stress and the pressure on the nursing staff.
And then to the point earlier made about being able to volunteer to help in certain schools, I know I filled out my volunteer card the other day for recertification, and I just know that there are people who are willing to volunteer in our schools, and I just don't know the likelihood of allowing that to occur when we are saying that we are stressed for staff and you know, we need some things fulfilled in our schools.
I think we all want volunteers back in our schools on a consistent basis, but I would caution the board, we have to be careful right now. It's not that we don't want people back, but you know, the safety and welfare of everybody in that building is the highest. We don't know where volunteers were. I mean, that's the bottom line. We don't know where they're coming from. I have not had discussions with any administrators yet on their feedback on that yet. I'd like to engage in that as well with them, get some feedback and some direction there to see what their thoughts are on that as well. It's not that we don't want people in the buildings, because we do. We just want to make sure we can do it safely and appropriately. And I think
Yeah,
that,
even if that means them being able to test,
Right.
get a test and,
Right.
be negative and be able to volunteer within a certain time frame. Because we're saying, we're okay with mass optional in our schools, so we should be okay with letting people help us out too.
Understood.
That's all I have.
Sure. The other thing I want to point out to you lastly, too, the last we checked today, there were 44 schools in the state of North Carolina, districts that were mask optional. The rest were mask mandated. And also, I would be remiss of me if I didn't, again, thank John Basleys and the yeoman's work that he's doing on keeping this data up to date and sharing it with me on a regular basis. And also to our principals, because the data I'm sharing with you is coming right from the principals. They report that to us every Monday by 1 o'clock. We update it. They're doing a fantastic job at really managing that data and keeping up to date on it. So I'm the messenger of the information, but they're doing the large, heavy lift back at the schools. And I do appreciate the work that our principals are doing and make sure they get the accurate data to us. So it's kudos and a credit to their hard work that I'm able to stand here this evening and share that information with you. So I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kopicki. So we definitely have approved our consent agenda, which is under the items number 14, with the removal of policy 4150 that went to the action agenda at 15.03. So now we will begin with 15.01, Second Chance EOG, EOC, Summer Program, and we will have Dr. Crystal Hill to the podium.
Good evening, board members. Last week I presented this plan to you and answered any questions that you had last week. I have not received any questions since that time, and at this time would just ask that you would approve the plan as presented.
Board members, comments or questions? And I'll start with Ms. Adcock.
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Ms. Carpenter? Ms. Blackwell?
I don't have any.
Mr. Walter?
I think our questions were answered last week, so.
Okay. Mr. Furr?
No questions.
Ms. Sandage?
I don't have any.
Okay. May I have a motion that the Second Chance EOG AOC Summer Program be presented as
So moved.
approved as presented?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Ms. Sandage and a second by Ms. Carpenter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we will begin with 15.02 on the actual motion. And I think Mr. Furr would like to make that motion as he has stated before.
Yes, I make a motion that we stay mask optional.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Furr and a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Absolutely.
Discussion, because our superintendent had made a motion something about looking at this coming Friday to look at where we stood. Could you re-clarify that, please?
Sure. What I would recommend to the board is to stay the course of action right now, and then we go for the Christmas break and come back on January the 4th at our work session and have a discussion. But then on January 10th at our business meeting, we will have at least a solid week behind us after the Christmas break and make an appropriate recommendation at that time. It may be a recommendation to stay mask optional, it may be a recommendation to mask, or it may be a recommendation we need to mask some schools and not all. But I think we're 4 days from the Christmas break. I'd like to just kind of get to the break and stay the course where we are right now.
I would just like us to take his recommendation as he said that, instead of just saying mass optional, taking everything he said into consideration. I would rather do that than just go out and just say it straight like it is.
You're saying give him authority to mask certain schools if he needs to?
Huh?
I think Ms. Carpenter is saying that for Mr. Furr to reword to say that we are going to take the recommendation of the superintendent.
Taking the recommendation of the superintendent, because he's saying to reassess it and to do that, and I would rather do it that way myself.
And just as a reminder, we are mandated by the state to make this
to
vote
do
every
that,
30 days.
but doing it that way.
Sure. Any other further discussion by any other board members
No,
or comments?
that's just my recommendation.
Ms. Sandage?
I agree.
Okay. Mr. Furr, would you like to restate your motion, please?
That'll be no. I make a recommendation that we go mask optional.
I will second
If else
that.
wants to make a motion, that's fine, but
Ms. Carpenter, would you like to?
I'm making a substitute motion. We take the recommendation of the superintendent.
I'll second that.
Okay, so hearing that, we will vote for the first motion on the floor, which was Mr. Furs, and seconded by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I'll have a raise of the hands, please. Okay, motion carries with majority, so that second motion will fail. All right, moving on to, I'm sorry? Ms. Hadcock did? No, we are good. All right, now moving to 15.03, which has been added, which is our action item involving policy number 4150. That was removed and added for action by Ms. Blackwell. Would you like to be the first to speak on that policy?
I surely would. So we put this, or I wanted to put this back on the action agenda due to some of the changes that have been put into the policy, specifically on page, let me make sure that I get it on the correct page. If you go to page 8 of policy 4150, 6, which states hardship applications will be accepted between March the 15th and May the 15th of each year unless extenuating circumstances exist. My concern with this is that after May the 15th, that the parents or whoever may not be able to bring this to the board to appeal. And I think that was the biggest concern that I had with this, is making sure that we don't take away a parent's option to appeal a process to the board. I think that's very important to make sure that we maintain that. So that was my concern.
Okay, and I will allow board members' comments or questions, a little bit further discussion. So I will begin with Ms. Sandage.
Was that the intent?
No, this has been the time frame that they've generally done that. It has not been so that parents cannot appeal to the board. It allows for them to know that there's room in schools or not in schools. What they do is and we had discussed this, we literally spent an entire policy committee on this one policy, and that did come up. And John, if I mess it up, let me know. Okay, so from that, if anything happens with a family during the year, they can always apply for a hardship transfer. So it doesn't mean that it only has to be between March and May. If something happens in June to a family, they certainly have the option to do that. What it does is allow those families that know ahead of time that they're going to want another school, it gives them a more specific time frame to apply. And it just really helps as far as staffing and being able to give them an answer to their appeal before summer. So when a parent files an appeal, and they want to know, it helps with the students knowing where they're going to go the next year. And really, these are the transfers that they know about ahead of time. Like, we're moving here, but we want to stay at this school, that type of thing. John, did you want to add anything?
So the dates being listed in policy, for years, that's been our approach. We've had an open transfer season from March 15th to May 15th. And if something comes up in late May, you can't possibly apply for it beforehand. We listen to folks and we meet with them. We allow them, of course, to be able to submit a transfer if an extenuating circumstance comes up. But it allows us to, the transfer season, as designated in the policy, allows us to consolidate and make assignments based on things that we already know, facts that are already in evidence, and predictable events.
Thank you. I am a part of the policy committee, and I heard from several different entities, from school principals to administration and leadership in this building, who all agreed to this language in the policy. Do I understand that correctly? Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Furr? Mr. Walter?
Okay, I also wouldn't want to make it more difficult for somebody, but I do understand that you need to have your allotments so you know if you have room or not. I mean, it does make sense to me. What's questioning, and maybe it could be reworded, is unless there are extenuating circumstances, who determines that? I mean,
So
so if you're saying, hey, if we disagree with that, what step do I have now that I think it is and you don't think it is?
I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. So in other words, if a family's called and said this, they've called outside the window and said this event has come up in their lives, and so the first part is we listen to everybody. When somebody contacts us, we listen to them and we ask them if there's information they can provide to support that there's a hardship. If we disagree on that, we will accept their application for sure if they have such a circumstance. And then, of course, if they're denied, then it goes through our normal process of appeals, the superintendent level appeal committee, and then ultimately you all.
Thank you.
Ms. Carpenter? And I believe you're on the policy committee. Are you on the policy committee
Yes,
as well?
yes.
Would you like to make a comment, or do you have an opinion?
Well, I know that, as Sue just mentioned, we did talk about this a whole meeting, and the concerns that Laura just brought up, that we wanted to make sure that the parent had an opportunity, because I made the comment, I said, what if somebody, you don't schedule your hardship, you don't say, gee, I'm going to have a hardship in, between, such and such a date and such a date. You don't know when the hardship's going to be. And that's when John had said, no, this has been here forever and ever. And, if they have a hardship at any time, we're going to take this. And two, they had mentioned that they have to kind of know, for staffing purposes, we need to know, for when we start trying to plan our staff, that we may need it. And also the same thing, when schools are overpopulated, like we know, the Cox Mill area, the Hickory Ridge area, when those come before us, we kind of know. We know those schools are going to be overpopulated, so we need to kind of tell these parents, if you're going to apply, your chances may not be as good, and those parents kind of need to know that up front. The policy committees, they felt comfortable with letting us come to us with those dates. And if a parent does have a problem, anytime, they will have that hardship brought to us. So that's why it come back to us like it is.
Ms. Adcock?
Thank you guys for taking our questions on this. I know sometimes we as a board don't understand, what you guys do in your departments. Thank you for taking our questions. I just would like to know, from August to February, what happens during that time if there is a hardship? They put the hardship in, it just goes back through the normal process, or is it automatically denied at that point?
So if you're saying this is a newly developed hardship, so something has come up in October or November or now, right? And it's a hardship where it's either social, emotional, there's some mental health dynamic, or something financial for the family, or something medical. The first thing we would do is ask them if they had some evidence to support that. And of course, if they did, we would release a hardship application to them and allow them to apply. I don't want to use this, the closest term I could think of is kind of like a pre-approval process. If somebody calls into our office and has a legitimate hardship, we're going to release an application, not for the purposes of saying, fill this out so we could say no, right? If we know what this hardship is, and if we have evidence to support it, we would take it and work with that family at finding the best assignment for that student.
Thank you very much. That was clarifying.
Okay.
So what is the pleasure of the board in how to handle policy 4150?
This is just a first read too, right?
It is. It was actually
Correct.
listed as a
First
second read, but because it went back to the policy committee, it comes back as first read now.
Right.
I would just make a motion that we go ahead and approve that.
I'll second.
Okay. So, Ms. Adcock, is that a motion?
Yes, it is a motion.
Okay, and my second was by whom? Ms. Sandage? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, I would like to, on behalf of the board, acknowledge the SRO that is with us tonight. Thank you for being here, always being a part of our meetings. And also, I just thought, at the point that we were discussing the task force and making sure that we have all participants, I think it would be great to have an SRO present as well, to discuss some of the, we had a speaker tonight talking about safety issues, and we have a safety committee. Ms. Carpenter sits on that. I think there's some things that's going to be coming back to the board, but that might be a nice addition to our task force as well. If the board agrees with that, I may make some recommendations for appointment on that position as well. Okay, and for our planning session, Ms. Sandage?
Yeah, just some thoughts. We recently had a survey to go out to parents, to students, and to teachers, and just wanted to suggest that folks fill those out. It gives you an opportunity to be a part of what's happening in the school system and for your voices to be heard to help to really and truly affect change. So I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud.
Thank you very much, and we are definitely in some goal planning. I think, Dr. Pickey, you covered that as well, making sure that people feel comfortable filling those out, that they truly can state their, their true opinions and what they think is going on in their world. Also, board members, some of you have sent in your planning session information that was requested. If you can get that to me, we're going to start working with Dr. Probst, and I think she's waiting on some of that information as well. So if you could do that, that would be great. And with that, I'm going to ask that the board convene in closed session to consult with an attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3, and to consider confidential personnel matters pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Adcock, a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And with that, we will say good night to our viewing audience. Thank you for joining us live stream, and we will see you at our Board of Education meeting January the 4th. And good night. Happy holidays.